Welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. So tonight we have Killian, Coriander, and special guest, Strange Monkey, in the house. What's going on, guys? What's going on?
Not
Yeah,
too
how's it going?
much.
All right. So you guys know what we're doing tonight. We're talking about T2, Judgment
Yep.
Day. I mean, this is it, man. I mean, such a great sequel. I'm really excited about it. I mean, ever since we figured we were going to be doing the Terminator series, I've just been hyped up. This is going to be great. Last week was really fun. We're glad to have Strange Monkey on with us tonight. Real quick, let's see who we have in the chat, and then we'll get to a quick take from you guys. Let's see. We've got Slasher Fred saying no problemo. We got Quasi in the chat saying hello, Nightwatch, lovely Corey, and the great Killian. Well, I'm still on the run. These T800s are crazy. How are you gonna chase someone for their clothes?
You know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it.
He's putting it on. Nice. I love
There we go. That's more suitable.
Right. We got Neon Black in the chat too. What's going on, man? Saying you just can't go around killing people.
Why?
You guys they're doing the quotes too, man. This is too funny, man. The People's Champion is in the chat. Eric himself saying great sequel, but better, hard to say. Yeah, I mean that's the ultimate question, Eric. You know, at some point we're going to do a video on that. Gorophobe's in the chat saying back from vacation. What is up? What's up, man?
Hey, how's it going?
Glad to have you back. Glad to have you back. So let's just do a quick take before we get started. I'll start with you, Killian, and then Coriander, and then Strange Monkey. When you think of T2, what comes to mind? What does this movie mean to you?
Well, what comes to mind is how much money I spent on different versions of this movie. From a VHS regular edition to a DVD regular edition to a DVD special edition to a Blu-ray to a 4K to a digital. Man, yes, and Knight knows I am not exaggerating.
You can send me a copy.
Well, don't worry. I think Knight even has more versions than I do. You know?
There is no need to be ashamed. Not at all.
But you know, this is a great movie, and it's definitely one of those sequels that is in that very small list of like, man, that sequel was either better or just as good as the first one.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing movie, and it still holds up today.
Absolutely, absolutely. How about you, Coriander?
Killian said it. I mean, I think this is an awesome sequel, and you know, this movie kicks so much ass. Yeah,
right.
It's great.
Right. Absolutely. How about you, Strange Monkey?
Well, I gotta say, this is a perfect example of how to make a sequel. You know, I never get tired of this movie. It's like, you know, you guys said, still holds up today. Great action, great effects, and a solid story that elevates the movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's a good point too, because it really does elevate the mythology that was set in place from such a fantastic first movie. Right. And that is so hard to do. I mean, it is a very short list of sequels that can do that. And this movie, not only did it elevate it, but for these characters, they all had more, you know, fat on the bone, as you would say, Killian. You know, Sarah Connor, her character arc was really, really extended and some wonderful moments. You had great moments for her son. Arnold as the Terminator, obviously playing a different version, but he had a lot of things going on. So it was like so much action and so much sci-fi, but it was also a lot of heart and story all rolled into one, and it was really well balanced. It's crazy, man. It's really crazy.
I must say the character development in this movie was flawless. You know, and that teaser trailer that you showed there earlier, nobody knew.
Yes.
And I didn't even know this until a couple of years ago that teaser trailer existed. Nobody knew that Arnold was the protagonist in this one.
That's right.
That must have been amazing for people in theaters when they realized that he's the good guy. That's mind blowing.
That was the beauty, and I'll say this. Me and Kill probably jump into this, and then we'll get into our intro. But that was the beauty back then, right, Kill? Because you remember this teaser. All we knew was like, oh shit, he's back. You know, you saw the skull, you saw the red in the eye, and I was already like, he's gonna kill a bunch of motherfuckers, man. This is gonna be lit, you know? Nobody knew. And credit to Cameron and all those guys to like hold that so close to the vest, because I'll never forget when I found out that he was the protagonist, and it was like, wow. How about you, Kill, before we intro into this? Same idea?
Yeah, I mean, it caught everyone off guard, because I remember when we saw this in the theater, and just, you know, looking around at people's faces like, what the fuck? You know, it's like, wow, you know, and things like that can't happen nowadays because there's so many spoilers and trailers and leaks. But back then, yeah, it was awesome.
Absolutely, man. So anyways, but this is going to be an awesome conversation, guys. We're going to finish getting set up. So for you guys in the chat, for you guys watching the replay, sit back, relax. You know what time it is. Right. All right, man. Let's get this thing going. Let's get down to brass tacks. Kill, let's start this off, man. What were you thinking in the beginning of this movie?
Man, you know, you could see the things that I guess James Cameron wanted to do with the special effects in this one. Even from the sequence of them teleporting in, it was done, you know, a lot like in the first movie, but to even greater effect. And just seeing, you know, both of the Terminators, you know, teleport in and not knowing that one of them was good. It was kind of like, oh damn, these machines are up to no good this time. They really want to kill Sarah. They're sending two of them. And it's like, oh man, like this is crazy. But it looked great. And it brought you back to home, man. It's like, man,
that opening scene too, man. It's like, all right.
Yes, it's like we're back. We're back in the game, baby.
Yeah, right. I know, man. And for a lot of people, especially the younger folks, you gotta remember, man, this was 7 years. 7 years. And we didn't know it was happening, you know. And it came, and we were like, wow, it's going to be a sequel. So everything was so fresh and just washing over you. It was crazy. Coriander, how about you in the beginning? What were you thinking? I mean, the opening was great. They showed the future war. They showed Connor, you know, suiting up and all that type of stuff. And then, like Killian said, similar to the first movie, we have the two Terminators that have traveled to the past.
Yeah, I mean, like Killian said, you didn't know what was going to happen. You didn't know how many people they were going to kill. Yeah, it was just, a mystery. It was cool.
Crazy stuff. Yeah, how about you, Strange Monkey? What'd you think of in the beginning of the film, how things were happening?
I think your mic is muted, Monkey.
Oh, yeah. Mike.
Wait a minute. How about
there you go.
Okay, that was weird. Sorry about that. Okay. Yeah, I remember just being a kid being blown away by the action in that opening scene. And they set it up perfectly. And then when you have Sarah Connor talking about what was going on, you know, they set it up perfectly. And also, you don't know that there's one good Terminator, one bad. All you know is that there are two Terminators coming after John this time. It's like, oh shit, this is going to be serious now.
Yeah,
so I love the way they set it up. It was perfect.
Yeah, and they really held on to that until the last moment. And Kill, before I throw it back to you, I'll just catch up into the chat for a second here. Because these guys, they've been working hard. Gore said, one of my greatest summers of my life, the summer of 1991. Yeah, man, it was really good. Eric says, excellent work adding in the restream dialogue. Thanks, man. You noticed that. All right. Thanks, man. Let's see. And Eric was also saying, let's not forget the Guns N' Roses soundtrack. Man,
who didn't love Guns N' Roses?
Yeah, man, I used to blast that, man. I'm telling you. Woo. Let's see what else we got here. Eric said, man, that poor worker at the Galleria just walking down the aisle with his coffee, taken right out.
Ace out.
He did, man. I was like, dang, man. Quasi says, this my shotgun. No, this my shotgun. Love that girl fight between the Terminators, and they fight like machines. Nice. Slasher Fred says there are many similarities to the original, like the opening scene with the nuclear war at the beginning. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Eric saying the title sequence of the classic theme played to a playground on fire. Hashtag iconic. Yeah, wow. Man. Yeah. Absolutely. And Neon Black was saying, I think this movie played for over a year at the theater by me. Yeah, that's when movies were in the theater for a long time.
Yeah, that good.
Yeah, it was that good. But Kill, once we get to the point, we see that there's two Terminators. And by the way, shout out to Robert Patrick. People don't talk about Robert Patrick as much as he should be talked about, but he was phenomenal in this movie.
Oh, definitely.
And the fact that he was the villain and they started him off getting into a police uniform, and even the way he was kind of doing things, you weren't sure, you didn't know. But what were you thinking? And we also obviously we meet Sarah, she's in the institution. What were you thinking about everything going on at this point, especially now we know where Sarah ended up after the first film and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, I was intrigued about all of it. I mean, you know, Robert Patrick, like, he's a skinny little guy. Is he as strong as Arnold? Is he as strong as that version? Is he stronger? And there was just something, and I'm glad you put that image up. There was just something about the way his mannerisms were in this, where he made them his own. He didn't try to do what Arnold did.
Yes.
And I remember one of the quotes from James Cameron was like, if Arnold was a tank, he wanted like Robert to be like a Ferrari, like something more sleeker and stealthier and smoother and deadly in certain ways.
Right.
And the fact that he's dressed like a cop, you know, in 90s LA, that's awesome too, because, you know, you see a police officer just like those little girls. Oh yeah, we know John Connor. Oh, he likes to go to the arcade. Thank you, girls. You know, I mean, that is brilliant. If you want to get information, the cop, I mean, and he did it. The cop car, the first thing you do is plug into that, start looking up a database. Yeah, and once again, just like Arnold in the first movie, he's a robot. He's systematic. I just hit the ground running. I just teleported in, killed the dude. Now I'm in his cop car, typing in John Connor.
Right.
And I'm off to the races. Right. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, he was just fantastic. Coriander, how about with Sarah? We saw that she's still seeing your boy from part one, Silberman, who's trying to make money off of these patients. What a jackass. But you remember, because in the first movie he said, this guy could make my career, talking about Reese, you know. But what were you thinking about Sarah in these scenes? Because she's obviously a much different character than she was in the first movie.
Oh, yeah. Look at how, you know, tough looking she is. You know, she obviously, you know, like you saw her working out, and she's totally transformed with what's happened to her. And how could you not be?
Right. Yeah. And I thought that it was pretty interesting how she wanted to just be able to see her son. You know, she had been, you know, kind of the ideal patient for 6 months. She had a goal to be in minimum security to see her son. She did lie to the doctor because he said, well, tell me about these Terminator machines. And she's like, they don't exist, you know, blah, blah, blah. Credit to him, too, because he's smart enough to know that she was lying. But still, man, she flipped in that one scene where he said, no, I'm going to have to recommend another 6 months. And again, shout out to Linda Hamilton, because she had that moment where she was just staring, and then bam, like a snake. I mean, she just struck at him, and I was like, man, this is crazy shit, man. Yeah, absolutely. But but now obviously we got to talk about my man Arnold. So Strange Monkey, once we saw Arnold and what his game plan was as far as trying to find John, and once he eventually does, juxtaposed with how Robert Patrick was trying to find John, what were you thinking how the story was building at that point?
Well, I feel like he had to work harder to find John, because
yes,
the T-1000, it's it's like you guys said, he's an officer, and that was an advantage. And since he's more advanced, he was able to adapt quicker.
Right.
You have Arnold, and he's the same model. He's got to, find people just like, the T-1000 did, get their clothes, and he has to look around and find John. It was a lot more, it was more work for him.
Yeah,
but,
yeah, absolutely.
When people were getting in his way, that scene in the bar, he absolutely destroyed everybody that got
right.
And it was fantastic. Because, and for being a machine, and the way that, we have to give credit to Arnold and his mannerisms as well. It's just, when he's looking around and observing everything, he does it in such a way that it's just, you take one look at him and it's like, let's stay clear of this guy.
Right.
I don't know what he's capable of.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. He just has a charisma about him, and that's what's made him so good in his career over all these years. You just look at him and he's just got that it factor, and that's what really translates, especially in a character like this where he doesn't talk a lot. So you need to be able to really have a lot of emotion in your physicality, which he does. But Kill, we got to talk about the Galleria scene. I'll never forget when I first saw it. You got Arnold walking down the aisle with a box of roses, looking around. We still don't know what his mission is. We're still having PTSD from the first Terminator, and how badass he was. What were you thinking in that scene? And of course, Robert Patrick is he got right behind John Connor because your buddy or John's buddy kind of ratted him out, but what were you tithinking in these scenes, man?
Man, I was really afraid for John. I was like, this is going to be a short movie because he's about to get aced out. I'm sorry. And the thing about it is Arnold just looks so cool, and he's walking down that corridor, and we all still remember the Arnold that up until now we had in our mind of that cold-blooded killer.
Yes.
And we remember what he did at the police precinct. We remember what he did to just random old women named Sarah Connor. So him looking exactly like that, carrying a box of roses, there ain't no roses in there, buddy. That's a shotgun, and you were going to kill this kid. I'm like, man. But, that sequence and the way it was filmed was so awesome because you see it from John's perspective, and he just has that oh shit moment in his eyes. But then the camera pans the other way, and then you see Robert Patrick coming, and it's like, oh, okay, wait, what's going on? Are they both bounty hunter Terminators? They're competing to kill him? Or... and then your boy with the coffee getting, Swiss cheesed, and then you're like, oh crap, he's protecting him, and then you're like, okay, you're gonna live. You're gonna live. Arnold is a killer robot that is protecting you. You're gonna live.
Get down.
Yeah, I know, man. When he said that, I was like, what? It was like crazy. Real quick before I get to you, Coriander, just to catch up in the chat, we got Cryptomaria in the chat saying happy Friday. What's going on? Same to you. Gorophobe says Linda Hamilton. Yes, absolutely. Eric says you hear Bad to the Bone, and if you're from our age group, you think of T2. That is so true, man.
Yes.
That is so true.
That's the only thing that comes to mind automatically every time I hear that song.
Absolutely, man. Good point. Crypta says, I saw this in the theater. It is still epic. Yes. Oh, man. Absolutely. Neon Black says, if I could get your clothes, boots, and motorcycle, that would be great.
So polite.
Oh, man, absolutely. Gorphobe says, that's what made this era so great. Media didn't give so much away. Yeah, true enough.
We need more teaser trailers like that don't give too much away.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. But Coriander, once we have the shootout and we know that Arnold is the protector, did anything pop into your mind as far as they were fighting him in the T-1000? Because the first thing I was thinking was, oh shit, the T-1000 is pretty damn strong here, if not stronger. What were you thinking?
Yeah, he was kicking ass. I mean, his looks are deceiving. That's the only way you can put it, because he's like liquid metal. I mean, how you can't really. I mean, he gets shot in the head and he just forms right back together. So absolutely, it looks grim. If you ask me, when I first saw this, it's like, this is grim. Maybe, this, John has a chance, maybe. But
but the thing of it is
slim chance.
Very slim chance, because it's like, this would be like probably the only way that you could one up Arnold. You know what I'm saying? It's like, this is a machine that can morph into not anything, but pretty much anything it needs to weaponize itself.
Crazy, and that is so cool.
Yeah, absolutely. But as cool as the Galleria scene was, and I'll pass it to you, Strange Monkey, then we get to the scene of the chase. Like, this is like, bam, bam, bam. It's like hitting you so hard. What'd you think of the chase? Because the chase, I thought, was fantastic. The music was fantastic, too.
If I had a list of maybe, like, let's say top 5 best chase scenes in action movies, this is on that list for sure.
Yes.
Because, tension was high when John was trying to desperately start his motorcycle, and Robert Patrick is starting to run, and he barely gets out of there. And this dude, he doesn't give a damn. He's still running after him. Then after a while, he's like, all right, I need something to chase after this kid.
Right.
So then Arnold gets into the mix, and he's just there flipping the shotgun around.
Yes.
It's just amazing, man. Then the truck, there it is right there. Yeah, it's like he's chasing right after John, and it's just, wow. He could have gotten killed. Also, shout out to his friend at the Galleria not ratting on John. He saved the world right there.
Yeah,
right,
man.
He's a real one.
Exactly.
He gave John 5 or 10 seconds.
Exactly. Absolutely, he didn't rat his boy out. Good for him for not ratting out his boy. But absolutely, great chase scene.
Yeah, man. And the stunt work, and that's the other thing too. Like, as I was rewatching it for this episode, the stunt work in this movie was just crazy. The stuff that they were doing, man. I mean, Kill, you remember when we were kids, man, even our dad would get hyped up with the, when he would do the shotgun cocking and stuff like that, and the motorcycle jump, and, when the truck jumps off of the overpass and stuff like that. It's like, this is just the beginning. This is still the beginning of the movie, man. You know what I mean? So, I don't know, man. It's crazy stuff, but I'll pass it to you, Kill. I think that this was a great beginning. And then, of course, you get the moments of, okay, let's figure out what this story is about. And then you start to have some conversations. Arnold talks about what his mission is. And obviously, Edward Furlong as John is kind of putting the pieces together, and they're having conversation. Now, this is a lot different than the first movie because you're dealing with a kid. What did you think of how the story went at this point? Because I thought there were a couple things that were really interesting that this movie brought that the first movie didn't.
Yeah, I mean, well, for one, you have a Terminator, a good Terminator, and he's interacting with a child.
Yes.
He's interacting with the savior of our future.
Yeah.
And the child in question also learning that, I have total control over this thing.
Right.
And it will do anything I want it to do. And I love that he learned a quick lesson that really made him realize, okay, I got to be careful what I tell this machine to do, because he was about to ace those guys out.
Yeah,
man. He pulled the gun out.
He was ready to go, man.
Yeah, you know, and I thought that was so brief and fast, and it showed the maturity of John.
Yes,
because he was like, oh, I'm sorry, you know, I was a little shit just for a second, but
good point.
I'm back. No, we don't kill. You don't kill people. Do you understand? You know. Yeah. So I thought it was a really great sequence that didn't involve any action. It kind of involved some comedy and a lot of great storytelling, because it really let us know, you know, okay, who programmed this Terminator? What is its mission? And it really set up, you know, the things to come in this movie. And it was a great scene.
Yeah, that is a good point, because it really showed John had character to him as a kid, because before that, he was just kind of like a punk type of kid. You know, you didn't really know the ins and outs, and he didn't get along with his foster parents and stuff, which, by the way, in that scene when they call the parents because he wants to warn them, he says, you know, they're dicks, but I got to warn them anyways. And of course, Kill, you know who that is.
I know who that is.
That's Vasquez, man. But again, that scene was just crazy. Coriander, what were you thinking of that scene? Because I thought that this was, again, some brutal stuff, just showing what the T-1000 could do.
Yeah, like you say, shape-shifting. Hello.
Yes.
You have many, you know, examples of him doing that throughout this film. And when I first saw this, you had no clue that, you know, he was her until, you know, I think John heard the dog barking and he was like, well, how's the dog? And then,
how's
you know,
Wolfie?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And yeah, I mean, it was just crazy. And when he put his silver, you know, rod through it, you know, the stepfather's head, or yeah, it was crazy shit. Not the stepfather, but their foster parents.
Foster parent.
Yeah. It was crazy. Yeah,
absolutely. And then, of course, Arnold still being a machine. Your foster parents are dead, and then he just walks away. I mean, Arnold, like I said, man, Arnold. Who else could have done this performance? You know, it's just Arnold just had that it factor going on. Real quick in the chat before I get back to you, Strange Monkey. Gorephobe says graphics great without being cartoony. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Let's see. Eric says, love seeing Jeanette Goldstein, Vasquez from Aliens, as John's foster mom. I'll always love her. She's great in Near Dark as well. She's one of Cameron's go-to women. Absolutely. And rightly so. Rightly so. Crypto Mary was saying that was a funny scene. It has great bits of humor to it in it. Talking about before that. Gorephobe was saying T-1000 was stronger. Yeah, man. He was badass, man. We got Flamethrower in the chat too, saying I laid my Harley down going around a corner, yet Arnie could jump friggin' tunnels and stuff. Right. That's a good point.
Hey, it's Arnold, man.
Yeah. Gore says CGI is farther along in T2 than it is now, it seems. Yeah, I agree. I mean, a lot of things that they did in T2 was such a huge jump forward, and now those jumps seem to be smaller, and T2 still holds up. There's only like maybe 2 scenes to me that show its age a little bit, but other than that, it's fantastic stuff. Stunt work as well. Neon Black says, Jesus, you were going to kill that guy. Of course, I'm a Terminator. Yes, absolutely, man. Slasher Fred says, if you watch the trailer, Sarah asks the Terminator if the T-1000 can be killed, and he replies that he is not sure. Right? Wow. Yeah, because, you know, it's such an advanced prototype. We got Once and Future in the chat saying, hey, Nightwatch, my wife Corey and Killian, the Terminator, there are so many classic moments in this film for real. Absolutely. Very much so. Very much so. And also for you guys in the chat, please make sure you give us a like on the video. That would be very, very much appreciated. But Strange Monkey, so now we know what's going on. We got the mission parameters from Arnold. It seems as though him and John kind of have a meeting of the minds as far as knowing, hey, this is how we're going to approach things. I'm not going to kill everyone, I swear. But then we get to Sarah's escape, and we also see that the T-1000 also, like Arnold thought, decided to go to the institution to intercept Sarah. This whole scene to me was fantastic. What were you thinking in these scenes?
I don't even remember how the T-1000 made his way there. But I mean, he's an officer, so he has more access to information, compared to the T-800. So it's like, things have been established with John. The rules have been cleared. Don't kill anybody. We got to break her out of it. So, it's the atmosphere in that hospital was very different from what we saw before that. And Sarah is desperately trying to get out of there. And then, all hell breaks loose when she grabs, selfish Silverman over here. And, it's crazy when she first sees the T-800. It's like she must have been getting all of these flashbacks. It's like, oh my God, over,
Yes.
The look she gave when she first saw him. I'm glad you said that, Strange Monkey, because that was,
What was that?
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was going to say something about that too, because the look on her face when she first saw him was like sheer terror.
Up until that point, she was running the show.
Right.
She had everybody hostage. She's like, I'm out of here. And as soon as she saw him, she's like, she stopped in her tracks, screaming like, it was like the party was over. But little did she know that, he was there to help her. And she was in disbelief when she saw him and John. And then, of course, there's the "come with me if you want to live."
Absolutely.
Great scene. And then T-1000 jumps in there, and then all hell breaks loose all over again.
Man. That scene where Robert Patrick walks through the bars, man.
Yes.
When I first saw that, I was like, damn, what can't this guy do? Every time you saw him, he was doing something to like one up what he had already done that was fantastic. You know what I mean? It's like, time. The concept of it was so, it worked so well because his abilities was all in being liquid, and he could shapeshift, he could make weapons, he could go through things, he could be the floor underneath of you. It was like, this is about the only, like I said earlier, this is about the only way that you're going to one up Arnold, as the T-800, you know what I mean? Kill, what were you thinking? What were you going to say, Strange Monkey?
Oh, I was going to say real quick that's where he has such a huge advantage over Arnold, because he can, shapeshift, he can mimic other people, and, the sharp objects that made him so dangerous, and every time he saw him, it's like, oh shit, we get ready.
Right.
Crazy.
Yeah. It's crazy stuff. Kill, what did you think about that whole scene with Sarah's escape and then meeting up with Arnold and then seeing the T-1000 coming after them?
I thought it was a great entire sequence, and smart on James Cameron to really let the audience know the extent of what the T-1000 could do. Because this was nothing but a showcase of his abilities, his stealthiness, his trickery, being able to walk through stuff, make sharp swords and hooks from his arms.
Right.
And it just really let the whole audience know, okay, this killer is very lethal.
Yeah, absolutely.
And sort of like Coriander mentioned about the sheer terror in Sarah's eyes. Sarah is a killer. Sarah has been trained. She has a particular set of skills, and she is hardcore.
Right.
And she was out of there until she bumped into the Terminator again, and all of that just went out the window. And and you could feel it, because she's like, oh man, what's going to happen when she sees him? And it's like, oh crap. And she still was in disbelief until like John's like, mom, it's okay. And, and then, Robert Patrick comes, and then she's like, oh, okay. All right, let's get out of here. And then once again, another great chase sequence. It's like, dude,
man.
And the elevator sequence.
Yes.
It's like, wow.
Yeah, I love that scene and the fact that, he was able to stab through and it just made you realize this guy, what can he do, man?
Right?
His head got
Yeah.
blown in half and he just
Yep.
just puts it back together. I'm just like,
Yeah.
holy shit, man. But yeah, so they got to get out of there. And Coriander, obviously it was a great chase scene. I mean, you can feel free to talk about that if you'd like, but I also want to throw out to you once they had a chance to breathe, they got away. They were in, I think it was an old closed garage or whatever. And then they find their way to some of Sarah's friends. The story, again, this is kind of uncharted territory for this franchise at this point because it's much different than what we saw in the first Terminator. What were you thinking of all these elements as they were happening?
I thought they were great. And just before I say that, can I just say how fast that the T-1000 can friggin' run? It's like,
Right?
holy shit. Yeah, I who would have thought he'd be so lethal, like Killian said, and so fucking fast to boot. So yeah,
He would have been able to win
shit.
a gold medal if he competed in the Olympics, just running on the track.
Right? Yeah.
Right.
But
Yes,
I thought once
absolutely.
they got, with the people that she knew, and you had some tender moments between John and the Terminator, and it was it was kind of nice to see that. And yeah, I mean, they got some arsenal from these people that Jesus, they definitely knew where to go, because yeah, the shit that Arnold, like we said, what was he when he was blowing up the, was he, where were they? I can't remember though. That cyber place.
Oh, Cyberdyne. Yeah.
Called?
Yeah.
Yeah. That scene. I know I'm jumping ahead, but that was so awesome.
Yeah, man. I mean, they had a whole bunch of great weaponry and stuff like that. But like you were saying, this is the part of the movie I think that was, again, I think a lot of directors may not have gone down this road. I think they might have just kept going with, bombastic stuff. But James Cameron actually let the characters breathe a little. And I think that was important because when we get to, the next act or the next fray, you care about these characters more. You care about John, Sarah, and especially Arnold, because like you were saying, Coriander, Arnold, and I thought this was an important thing, and you guys can let me know what you think, but this was a machine that was learning what it was to be human, and a lot of people might think it's hokey and, well, you're just talking about Terminator and it's Arnold and da, da, da. But again, when you think about the movie, I mean, it's a fantastic movie. And I don't think many people can disagree with that. But I thought it was really interesting as far as character arcs and for John, because if you think about the whole mythology about how he is destined to be, the leader of the resistance, what would a leader have to have for qualities? You know what I'm saying? And we already, exactly.
Tenderness.
Exactly. There you go. That's the answer, and we were actually seeing it in real time. We already found out that he knows you just can't be killing people. I mean, can you imagine that? You've got a war hero that at the core of himself doesn't want to kill people. I mean, that's just interesting stuff if you take a second to think about it, But the other thing too is Sarah, all the PTSD from what she's gone through, the knowledge of the future. Again, and I know I say this a lot, but I'm just going to say it again. Shout out to Linda Hamilton because she was just so good in this role. Strange Monkey, what were you thinking in these moments, especially with Sarah Connor and how she was being characterized?
Well, obviously the Sarah Connor in the first film, compared to the second film, it's a very different woman.
Yes.
This is somebody that nearly died and she had no idea what was going on. I can't even imagine what it's like when you see this gigantic, mountain of a man coming after you, trying to kill you, and then somebody tells you, hey, that's a robot from the future. Like, what? Right. Excuse me? And, her life just got turned upside down. She was just a waitress living her normal life. All of a sudden, she's this badass that completely transformed, and now all of a sudden she knows how to use weapons, and she is trying to do everything in her power to protect her son.
Yes.
Being locked up was getting in the way of that. Now she had this opportunity, to, stop Judgment Day from happening. And she really, like, when it comes to character development, I think, Sarah Connor's character development was the best.
Absolutely.
When it comes to this, because this scene, like you said, it was important for things to slow down a little bit, and we get to see everybody just interacting with one another, T-800 learning, because that was very important. Because this is John's protector, and he's like you said, like I said earlier, the T-1000 was able to adapt a lot more quicker, and Arnold had to adapt a little bit. It took him a little while, so he's learning about human life, and and he would ask him, why are you crying? And John would try his best to explain that to him. Stuff like that, I thought was very important.
Yeah, those tender moments.
Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. And also, once in Future was saying she was cold towards John, though. And I think in the beginning, I think part of that was just, kind of that knee-jerk reaction to make sure that he's ready for the future, that he's ready for what's going to happen, because it's not going to be an easy life. It's not going to be easy decisions to make. And he has to, like she kept saying to him, you've got to be smarter than that. And so his whole life, she had been training him. So I think that that's a lot of what was going on. But again, I think lesser directors may not have really gone down this road, but there were moments later on where it was this huge tender moment between her and John. We'll get to that in a second. Eric was also saying, my only knock on this is, as great as Sarah is here, it seems like she cares more for John's safety due to his role in the future than him being her son. You're too important. Maybe I see it wrong. Well, I think it hits both sides of it, because he has to be a certain way, not only to be good in his future role, but probably to survive. Because, think about it. When Judgment Day hits, obviously a lot of people get killed, and there are some survivors. I can imagine that there are a lot of those survivors that just don't make it because it's just not a happy place to be in. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So you have to be a certain way to be able to deal with that mentally and emotionally. What do you think, Kill? And then you can jump into the rest of the story stuff.
Yeah, I think she wanted to save her son, but she, even more than that, probably she wanted to prepare him for the hard life ahead of him, for the hard decisions he might have to make. Right. Like, hey, you might have to say, well, Mom, you got to die so that we accomplish this mission. You need to be able to make those hard calls.
Right.
And it's a beautiful time at this point in the movie, because once again, here comes a hard decision. Sarah is cold now. She is more of a Terminator than Arnold is in this movie, because she systematically sees that at this juncture, the only outcome she can see is to kill Miles Dyson, and to retrieve the whatever samples they have from the incident in the first movie, right? When she crushed that Terminator.
Yes.
So she breaks it down. If I kill this guy, his work hopefully will stop with him.
Yeah.
And she's content with murdering this man. Yeah. And she is hardcore, and she digs No Fate on the table, and they see it, and pretty much Arnold knows. He's like, oh, she's gonna go kill Miles Dyson, and he's like, oh, well, we got to get Mom, and he's like,
it might actually prevent the war.
Yeah, exactly. And John is like, no, you have to follow my rules, and this and that. We're going.
Well, I just want to say one thing. The way he said it too, and again, people, obviously, Edward Furlong has had some rough times. We know that. Okay, fine. I'm just talking about in the movie, what he did with what he was given, and the script and the direction. In that moment, as a kid as well, a kid actor, I thought some of the things he said was so, it was so good, because he says, haven't you gotten it yet? Don't you understand why you just can't go killing people? And it was like, wow, again, I'm just talking about in the story. In the story, I'm like, wow, I can see how this kid might become the savior of the human race. You know what I'm saying? Because even in the world that he lives in, even though he had foster parents and felt abandoned by his mother, even though he grew up moving from one place to another and to another and never having one father, at the core of it, he still understands, and he was, again, trying to teach this machine, you can't just kill people. So again, I think it was just like you were saying, Strange Monkey and Coriander and all you guys, great character development, little things, just little things here and there, again, that makes this movie rise above an average sci-fi action movie.
I think it was a great thing that he pointed out to the T-800, because imagine if he does find John, okay, I'm protecting this kid, the T-800 still sees everyone as a threat. Like those guys that were coming over there, and he would have killed everybody in his way had John not told him, hey, you can't just go around killing people like that.
Right.
They would have definitely been in a lot more trouble. They would have attracted police, and all hell would have broken loose, and mission's over.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Absolutely. Yeah. But Coriander, I mean, let's get to the finale of this thing. They talked to Dyson. They let him know what is to come, which, by the way, I mean, hearing all that is just like, wow. You know what I mean? Even Sarah in that scene said, it's not every day that you find out that you're the cause of 3 billion deaths. And he says, I feel like I'm about to puke. But Joe Morton, shout out to Joe Morton as well. I mean, he had a nice little part in this movie, and he's always great in anything I see him in. But when they have the plan to go to Cyberdyne, this was just a great finale. What were you thinking of this, Coriander? Because I think it was a lot of cool stuff, character moments, and a lot of great action.
Yeah, the action. You definitely got that right.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so smart that he's like, well, these guys, pulling the gun on the security guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was great how they got in, and they were going to just blow up records, burn stuff, and do whatever they destroy everything so that they could prevent the nuclear war from happening.
Right, man.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I love the ending.
Did too. Yeah. Eric was saying, we're not going to survive, are we? People, I mean, it's in your own nature to destroy yourselves. Tough, poignant, hits home in 2021 too. Sad conversation. Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Gore says, good point, Killian. Sarah is harder than the Terminator. Absolutely. Yes. No doubt about that. Let's see. Eric was saying, seeing John wearing a Public Enemy shirt, living in LA, that's total 90s. Love that nostalgia. Right? Once in Future says, I don't know, you don't win by being like the Terminators. I think Sarah got that at the end, though. Yes, I agree. Yeah, and again, that was a great moment, I think, for Sarah Connor as a character, because like she told John when they came in, she said, I almost did it. She almost killed him. And fortunately, she had stopped herself. And I think, again, that was a nice moment for her and for John. What were you going to say, Kel?
Well, I just want to give my hats off to Linda Hamilton for her acting in here. Because the one thing I think a lot of us miss is, from the first movie to her driving to Mexico to dating guys that might teach her things, or getting in with guerrilla armies and learning, from weapons sellers, to having her baby. She has gone through a lot of shit, and that's all before she got captured by the shrink and and thrown in the loony ward. So her portrayal of like this new Sarah that is hard has been earned by trauma and tragedy and knowing. Like, imagine right now if you knew when the future was going to end, how it was going to end, and that other than your son, humanity has no chance. Right. And just that sequence in Dyson's house when she starts to kind of go off the deep end, where she's like, men like you caused this. Men like you, and they're like, Mom, calm down. That shit is earned. So Linda Hamilton, you are the hero of this movie, and you are awesome. Yeah, keep up the good work.
Right. But Coriander, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about some of those wonderful scenes at Cyberdyne where Arnold, the cops are coming, man. And Arnold's like, I'll take care of the cops. And John was like, but you promised. And he was like, trust me, and he opens up with the minigun and everything. What were you thinking in these scenes, man?
I loved that scene. I mean, you had cops running everywhere, cars blowing up. I mean, it was great. And then he starts shooting out those smoke bombs, and so that everyone would like pass out, so that they could get away, and he didn't kill anyone. That was awesome.
Right. Absolutely. And then of course Strange Monkey too, that fantastic scene, because now we've been talking about a lot of stuff, but one thing we haven't been saying is the T-1000 comes too, man. Like this, like they're adding stuff to it, man.
He went away for a little while. And then, he grabbed that cop's nice bike and just, raised all kinds of hell in that building. And also, shout out to the helicopter pilot. He's got a damn minigun. I would have gone out of there too.
Right.
And the T-1000 takes that helicopter and starts crashing into everything and everyone. It's just insane.
Yes, and what a great stunt when that motorcycle jumps,
that
man.
Entire again, it's just James Cameron outdid himself. It was so
he really did. I mean, that was just crazy. When I first saw that, I was like, "What the fuck is he doing?" It's like this is crazy. And again, special effects were just on point. And when he said "get out," I love
that. Isn't it sad that this film had fantastic special effects? And it's, aside from maybe one or two things, it still holds up today. And you compare it to the sequels, and it declines in quality as far as the CGI goes. It's kind of sad, We're supposed to be going forward, and it's like, it's like, as the phrase says, 2 steps forward, and then it's like 3 steps back. It's like, what happened?
Right. Absolutely. And also too, in the story, shout out again to Joe Morton, because he held it down for as long as he could before he he sacrificed himself. But Kill, we've got the chase thing going on,
he did what he had to
which
do.
is well, absolutely. But we got the chase thing going on. We know what's going to happen. We know where this is all leading up to. What were you thinking at this point?
Man, I was still wondering, how are they going to be able to kill this thing?
Right. That's what I was thinking.
Because I mean, this thing, he just oozed into a helicopter, told the guy to get out. He commandeers another truck. He loves driving big ass trucks. So it's just like, all right, what are we going to do here? How are you going to kill him? Is there a handy plant you could drive to within distance, because Sarah's good in them plants, man. Hey, so luckily there was a plant pretty close.
Right. Absolutely. And what a place to end this thing, for a finale. And Coriander, once they got to that scene where the liquid nitrogen was all over the place, and again, fantastic effects. Effects when they were showing the T-1000 like basically freezing. What were you thinking? And of course, you know what the tagline was soon after that. What were you thinking in these parts?
Yeah, I was like, it's like, holy shit, he's like crumbling, he's falling to pieces. And it was great. And then Arnold shot him, and he blew up. But you knew. Once he thawed, you were fucked. So it's like, for them just to watch and, I thought they would have been like running and going, but instead they like watch him, ooze back together. It's like, what?
Right. And you gotta love
these stuff, baby.
Exactly, man. You just gotta love it, man. It was just like, man, he is just He is so damn good. But Strange Monkey, we had some moments where Arnold once again went up against the T-1000. Obviously, he wasn't a match for him. What were you thinking of the effects in those parts before the final confrontation?
They really went all out as far as showcasing the effects during these scenes, because Arnold knew he was pretty much outmatched, and ammo was limited.
Yes.
And he had to, he's trying to fight him, and the T-1000's outperforming him with just the liquid moving around and all that. He traps him, and it was just amazing. The practical effects of split open and all that stuff. It was so good, and it still holds up today. Yeah. And then there's the scene where he starts crushing him with that thing. I don't know what the hell that thing is, but he's just bashing his head in over and over. And it's like, whoa, he's in trouble here, And at one point, it's over when he stabs him. I was like, holy shit! Like, now what? You see that for the first time. It's like, where do we go from here?
Yes.
And it was a very intense scene because you didn't know what was going to happen.
Right. And it's funny because, and I always think back when I saw this in the theater, and Kill knows what I'm about to say, but he basically powers down. He's coming after Sarah. Things are not looking good. John's running around. He doesn't know what the fuck to do. And then all of a sudden, Kill, what did you see? You saw that flicker in the eye. I will never forget, and I am not bullshitting. The theater erupted. I was with you remember Jamal, right, Kill? We were like, yes! We were like all pumped up. We're like, he's back. I mean, again, these are these moments that they were earned, to really root for this character because they took their time with some special character moments. So, Kill, I just want to talk about the ending. We saw Sarah going full Terminator. What were you thinking about that leading up to the finale?
Reminiscing from the first one. I mean, because Sarah, once again, it shadows the first one so much. Like, the protagonist that was sent there to save her is out of commission, and she has to do it herself because she's the badass and she's awesome. And that shotgun, she's just like cocking it, putting bullets in that ass. Cock it, bullets, until she ran out of bullets, and then everybody in the audience was like, oh shit.
And then one shell. That's all. All she needed, man.
And then good old Arnold's like, I got one. Yes. I got one shell. I got you, Sarah. And it was just awesome. It was just awesome.
It was. And Coriander, obviously, so the T-1000 is defeated narrowly. And I thought it was, again, just cool. All the buildup and all the tension. It was really fantastic. But obviously, they have to destroy all the chips. And when Arnold says this one as well, what were you thinking?
It's like, you don't want that to happen because, like John, you wanted him to stick around. We could make it work. But yeah, it was unfortunate.
Yeah, absolutely. And I gotta admit, man, it was I don't think it was cheesy. I mean, I don't know. You guys let me know. I think it worked within the movie, and like he said, I now know why you cry, though it's something I could never do. And
those
it was
two formed such a bond in the little amount of time they were together. The bond that they had, just like with Linda and what's his face in the first one, the bond Reese. that they had. Yeah. I mean, it's great that, these machines, well, not that Reese was a machine, he wasn't, but the fact that this kid, had such a bond with him. It was great.
I'd like to say something about the ending. Because as time goes on, ever since I was a kid, I would notice little things about the movie, and as I go older, I would notice a lot of little details, like as we discussed. So it's like, I never realized how powerful this ending is. When you have Arnold asking John, what's wrong with your eyes? And he just brushes it off like nothing. Then later on, he's still interested in knowing why does he cry? Why do humans cry? And as he's adapting to human life, and then at the end, after everything that they go through, he tells them, I know now why you cry. It's something that I can never do. And he's basically telling him, I can't feel what you're feeling, but I understand. And it's like, you're going to be all right. And then he departs, and then, it's got that ending. It's bittersweet, because he knew he had to do it. He had to sacrifice himself because he couldn't stick around.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, man. Really, really good point. Absolutely.
And it was very emotional. Like the last time I saw, I was like, damn, this is hitting me different this time around.
Right? Man, I'm not gonna lie. It still hits me too, man. Yeah. Real quick in the chat as we head on out here. Gore says, I was 18 years old, went to see it at the theater and couldn't believe what I was seeing with these effects. It was an experience I'll always remember. Great movie. Yeah, I agree, man. Absolutely. Let's see. We also have Eric who's saying, saying that line about the T-800 and the thumbs up. Knight always talks about scenes that still get him. This gets me every time. Truly one of the most sad moments in at least my history with the film. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It was sad, man. It really was. Quasi says, I cried like a biatch when the T-800 had to self-terminate. I'm a grown-ass man and still cry at this scene.
It's okay to cry.
Yeah.
Good God.
It is. Neon Black says, I think one of the things that gets lost with this film and the first film is just how good the writing is. Great story and great characters. Absolutely. That's what I think that's a big part of what makes these movies stand above the average sci-fi movies. And that's why we're still talking about them today with such reverence. But again, the other thing too is that it was a very imaginative type of movie. You had great crew, a great director. You had actors that were able to actually embody what the characters were, and they connected with you. Like these characters, when I think of these characters, like you said earlier, Kill, it's like we're back home. We're comfortable with these characters. We care about these characters. And that's why when things are happening, we get moved by it. And that's why when you see lesser films or lesser sequels, kind of what Neon Black was just saying, the writing might be off or not as good, or maybe, the direction wasn't as tight or those types of things, whereas in these two movies, all those things were just great. They really were. So great movie, guys. I can't say any more good things about it, to be honest. I don't know if you guys can, but I can't.
It is definitely a masterpiece. It's a classic, one of the greatest films of all time. Like if there was a Mount Rushmore of the best films ever, T2 would definitely be up there because, like I said, it's like I said in the beginning, it's a great example of how to elevate a film, a sequel, and James Cameron did it twice with Aliens and with T2, and he knew what he was doing. And I can never get tired of this movie. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, hey, he's definitely hit a lot of home runs, so shout out to him and the people he has working around him and with him, because that's important too. You got Stan Winston, you got Gail Ann Hurd in the back, so you have all these great filmmakers and all working together, and I think it just makes for a fabulous experience. But anyways, guys, that's about all we've got for Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Thank you guys so much in the chat for hanging out with us as we head on out. Gore was saying, gotta have that passion to cry. Passion's what it's all about. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Eric says, great video tonight. Great conversation as always. I'm ready for a part 3 discussion. Hopefully I'm not the only one raising the torch for that one. I don't think you'll be. there's good to be had. But yeah, next week, guys, we'll be talking about Terminator 3, obviously. And again, this is, and especially Kill and I growing up on these movies, we've talked about these movies a lot. So it's so fun to share these discussions with you guys. But we will be back next week to talk about Terminator 3. So we hope you guys can join us for the live show or catch us on replay. Please give the video a like and share it. If you're not subscribed to the Night Watch Zone, please do so. We'd really appreciate it. And we'll catch you guys next time. If you're watching this, if you're listening to this, you are the Night Watch. Hasta la vista, baby.
Peace.
Upchurch.